Here's the concept behind today's video. I listed one item per day for 28 days, and I'm gonna go day by day with you guys, tell you what I listed, and then once something sells, I will tell you, on the first sale, for example, was on day 5. So one of the first 5 items sold within 5 days. Then I'll keep going through the days. When something sells, I'll tell you guys. And spoiler alert, 26 of the 29 items have sold. So 26 of them were fast sellers. Like at most, they took 3 months to sell. Day 1, I listed these New Balance shoes at $50. Day 2, I listed this Timba camera bag. I have had good luck in the past. I've listed one camera bag before and it sold for over $100. This one I listed at $55 and I had paid $12 for it on an online estate sale. Day 3, I listed these Rocky boots that were brand new, didn't have the tags, but they'd never been worn, still in box, listed them at $75. Those were worth less than I expected, but it looked like $75 was about what they would sell for. Day 4, I listed this Vera Bradley wallet at $35. Day 5, I listed these Haflinger clogs at $55. And day 5 was also the first day that something sold, and it was the Haflinger clogs. They sold the same day I listed them, and they sold for full price of $55. This is definitely a brand to be on the lookout for. These were in like new condition. I bought them at the Goodwill outlet for only $1.89. Our Goodwill outlet in Des Moines is $1.89 per pair of shoes. I made a $44 profit. Great sale. Definitely will be looking for this brand. I had been looking for it for years. That was the first time I found it, so I don't think I'll come across it often, but keep that brand in your mind. Day 6, I listed these UGG wedge boots at $40. Day 7, I listed this Snoo sleep sack. Day 8, I listed this Pendleton purse. This purse had a lot of dirtiness in it, but I figured since it was Pendleton, it would still sell. Stay tuned to find out. I did only list it at $25 though because of how dirty it was. Day 9, I listed these Danceco Layla boots. Oh no, those weren't boots. Those were just, yeah, they were. I guess they were little boots at $28. Day 10, I listed these Danceco slouch boots at $35. Day 11, I listed this Osgood Marley leather bag at $35. Never heard of this brand, but it was a pretty big bag and definitely real leather. So I picked it up at the Goodwill outlet, so it didn't cost me very much. Day 12, I listed these UGG classic tall boots at $80. The last 5 finds I picked all up on the same day at the Goodwill outlet, and these UGG boots are one of my better finds. And day 12, we have our second sale. So which item do you think sold? It was the Osgood Marley leather purse. And again, I never heard of this brand. There weren't a lot of sold listings for this brand, but again, it's a large purse. It's real leather. So I picked it up at the Goodwill outlet. So I paid around $2 for it, and it sold within 2 days of listing for $30. So my take-home profit on that purse was $19.06. Day 13, I listed another pair of Danceco shoes. These were the Danceco Paisley shoes. I was happily surprised when I looked at sold listings for this specific style. I listed them at $50. I had picked these up at a garage sale for $4. And day 13, we had our third sale. The third thing to sell were the Rocky boots. I had listed those at $75, and someone locally on Facebook Marketplace offered me $65. There are no fees if I sell something locally on Facebook Marketplace, so I happily took their offer. Day 14, we are back to listing. I listed a pair of Brooks at $20. These had some missing foam on the sole of the shoe, so I didn't list these very high, so only $20. And day 14, we had another sale, and it was the item from day 1, the New Balance shoes. I had listed at $50, and on day 14, I got an offer for $38. So on those shoes, I profited $24.41 because I had paid $6 for them at a regular Goodwill. Day 15, I listed this Ralph Lauren tablecloth. This was a super easy listing. I probably didn't have a lot of time that day, and I intentionally had saved this for a day that I needed an easy listing. It was brand new. I listed it at $45, and I had picked that up at a garage sale for $8. Day 15, another item I had got at that same garage sale sold, and that was the Danceco Paisley shoes. As a reminder, I listed those at $50, and I took a $35 offer. This is probably I think there's 2 items in here that I think I probably took too little on, and this is one of them. I probably should have held out and I could have gotten closer to my $50 asking, but I took a $35 offer. I had paid $4 for those at a garage sale, so I profited $23.82. Okay, back to listing. We're gonna have a few days here with no sales. Day 16, I listed these Solomon women's shoes in the style the XA Pro 3D at $45. Day 17, I listed the same style of shoe, but in a men's, listed those at $65. The price difference is just simply based on what the sold listings look like these items sell for. Day 18, I listed some swaddles. These were ones we had for our kids, and they've just gotten too big for swaddles. Day 19, I listed a pair of Born sandals. I never pick up Born, but the comparable sold listings for these sandals were surprisingly good. I listed them at $45, and I got those at the Goodwill outlet for $1.89. Day 20, I listed another bundle of swaddles from our kids. Day 21, I listed this Hobo Purse Doctor's Bag at $50. And day 21, I had 2 sales. So the sales are starting to come in now. I sold the Tenba camera bag for $48. And reminder, I listed it at $55, so just a little less than my listing price. And since I paid $12 for it, I profited $24.17. That day, I also sold the Brooks. I had listed those at $20, again, because they were flawed, and I sold them for $15. I profited $6.78, which will be my lowest profit. Back to listing. Day 22, I listed a pair of Red Wing boots at $98. This was another Goodwill outlet find. Another pair of shoes I got for $1.89 at the Goodwill outlet. They did have some heel drag and I think some scratches in the leather as well. I disclosed all of that in the listing. Day 23, I listed another item for my kids. This Boppy Noggin support, new in package. We never ended up using it. I listed it at $12. And that day I made another sale. This time I sold another pair of Danskos. So I listed 3 pairs of Danskos. The Paisley one sold for $35. And then the slouch boots sold for my full asking price, which was also $35. I also picked those up at the Goodwill outlet. So I profited $26.65. Day 24, another of my kids' items. It's a Hannah Anderson mushroom onesie. I listed that at $10. Day 25, I remember this day. Did I mention this already? I was doing this challenge along with my friend Nicole. I will link her channel down below. She's a reseller who lives close to me. We have kids that are same age. And yeah, we live in the same area. We do the same things. We were keeping tabs with each other on how we were doing on our listings. And I remember I texted her the day I listed this item. So day 25, I listed a Banana Republic merino wool sweater at $20. And I texted her and I'm like, this is one of those items that either sits for a year or sells within a week. I picked that up at the Goodwill outlet for $1.30. So I didn't have a lot into it and I thought I would give it a try. Day 25, we had a sale. The Ralph Lauren tablecloth, I had listed it at $45 and I got an offer for $40. I'd actually gotten a few offers on this, but I was holding out and at $40, that was definitely a reasonable offer. I had paid $12 for it, so I profited $20.65. Day 26, I listed 2 Hannah Anderson onesies, a Fox one and a Bells one at $10 each. Day 27, I listed these kids Adidas Sambas at $25. And that day, guess what sold? The Banana Republic sweater, the merino wool sweater. I got an offer for $18, which I accepted, and I profited $12.86. So thankfully, it sold really fast. And then day 28, I listed another pair of shoes that I had picked up at the Goodwill outlet, these UGG chestnut boots, and I listed those at $65. So now we are through the 4 weeks, and as you can see on the screen, quite a few items have sold. And then the week following, 8 items sold. First, the Vera Bradley wallet. I had listed it at $35, but then I have a few other Vera Bradley items that have been listed, almost the entire year that aren't selling. I think in my head, I'm like, is it really worth $35? I don't know. Like I had seen some sold comps that high, but I wasn't really sure. So when I got an offer of $20, I took the offer. The Boppy, again, I was asking $12 for it and it sold the next week. I did get a policy violation on eBay for this, which I don't know if I've ever gotten a policy violation. I don't know exactly what it means, but it can't be a good thing. eBay has a lot of restrictions I found around kids items. In this case, I was able to put up the listing and it sold before they said, hey, you're not allowed to list this. If you have one of these very specific items, don't list it on eBay. Then I also sold the Hannah Anderson onesies. Exactly what I was hoping would happen did. Someone came along and bundled all 3 of them, and she offered me $22, and I had them listed at $10 each, so I took her $22 offer. The Adidas Sambas sold for my full asking of $25, and I had actually purchased those on Whatnot because I was thinking they might fit my nieces and nephews, but they ended up being too small for one set of nieces and nephews and too big for another set. I listed them at $25. They sold within a week. And with shipping, I had paid $14.47 for those on Whatnot. So I still profited. I made a $5.53 profit, which isn't bad considering I didn't pick them up to resell. Then I sold the Pendleton purse. As I said, I listed it at $25, but it was very dirty. The inside of it was pretty stained. And as I mentioned, I picked that up at the Goodwill outlet, so I only paid like $2 for it. I got an offer for $15 and I took the offer. So I profited $10.11. Then another Goodwill outlet pickup, these UGG classic boots. As I said, I listed those at $80 and I got an offer for $68, which I accepted. So I profited, drumroll, $50.74, which I think is the best profit. No, it's not. We have a better profit coming. It was one of the better profits of the video. Then the next sale was the other pair of tall UGG boots, the chestnut boots. Those sold for $58 and also got those at Goodwill outlet. So I profited $44.51. The next week I sold 3 more items. Both of the swaddle bundles, one buyer purchased them. She purchased one for the full asking of $16 and then she offered $10 on the other one. And I took her offer. And then the Solomon shoes, I had listed the men's shoes. I had listed at $65 and I got an offer for $55, which I accepted. I did pay up for those. I bought those at a regular Goodwill store was having their grand opening and these shoes were $20. So I paid a lot more than I usually do, but they sold for $55 pretty quickly and I profited $23.68. The next week I had one sale from these items and that was the Solomon women's shoes. I had listed those at $45 and they sold for $35. And I had paid $7 for those at a regular Goodwill and I profited $21.89. The next week, I again sold one item and that was the Red Wing boots. They actually sold like an hour away from my house. The buyer offered, I listed them at $98 and they sold for $75 plus shipping. Again, I picked them at the Goodwill outlet, so they're only $1.89 and I profited $58.95. That was a great profit. Since then, I have sold 2 more items. The UGG wedge boots, I listed those at $40, took an offer for $30, and I profited $21.35. Kind of have a theme going of, I listed a lot of shoes that I had picked up at the Goodwill outlet. Another pair is this pair of Dance Co. Laylas. These sold yesterday. So these are definitely the freshest sale. I had listed those at $28. They did have a couple flaws on them, and it had been, yesterday would have been, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks since I listed them. Took a $20 offer, so I profited $14.56. That leaves only 3 items that haven't sold. The Snoo sleep sack, this was one of, again, for my kids. I listed this at $15, it hasn't sold. Then the Born sandals, again, I listed them at $45, and I'm not going to drop the price yet because we're in the middle of winter. I'll give it some time. If, let's say, in May, June, they still haven't sold or haven't got any offers, then I'll drop the price on them. The Hobo purse is listed at $50. I haven't gotten any offers for it, which tells me it's probably overpriced. With purses, they usually sell pretty fast because there's a big market for them. You know, anyone can buy a purse. You don't have to be a certain size. So since it's been sitting, I probably have it priced too high. Total, I listed 29 items. 11 of them were personal items. 18 were items I had picked up specifically to resell. On those 18 items, I made a profit. So after fees, after shipping, after my cost of goods, of $460.35, which is $25.57 per item. So if I list one item per day, I can make, if this run rate continues, I would make a $26 profit each day that I list an item. Let me know what you guys think down below. Would you be happy with these sales, or would you have wished you'd held out longer and got higher profit. I find that I tend towards the side of I like a fast sale more than I like waiting for a high dollar sale. Part of that is because I think a lot of times you wait and then you still have to drop the price or take a lower offer. And so then it doesn't feel worth the wait. If you like this video, here's another one you might want to watch next.